Hello everyone, welcome back. This is another video in my NSE 5 lab series. In the last video, my name's Devin Adams, by the way. You should be watching these in order, or any way you want. Anyways, I'll be quiet. In the last video, we talked about some key concepts of the FortiManager, how there are a device manager or a device level database and also a policy and objects database that is relative to just the whole entire ADOM. In this video is going to be a quick example to show you those device level changes and how a FortiManager benefits when you are essentially managing the FortiGates. So let's go ahead and go into our device manager. And once again, we have this side of the FortiManager, which is the individual database that holds the configuration changes for the specific FortiGates. All right. Auto update, by the way, is because I made a device level change directly on the FortiGates, and it pushed up those changes and updated the database automatically to reflect what was actually configured on the FortiGate, because that is the goal. So with that being in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at another screenshot here. Just a moment, if I can find it. All right. So this is another picture out of the FortiManager administration guide, which I hope everyone gets and downloads. So because it's essentially like a textbook for the FortiManager. But we went ahead and we made a change on the FortiGates, and the FortiGates went ahead and pushed up those changes to the database that was sitting in the device manager, because there is an actual database, that's a really bad drawing of a database, that is supposed to reflect the reality of the individually managed device. Now, synchronized simply means that this database, right, and the database on the actual FortiGate are one-to-one. They are completely in sync. This also means it's in sync, but it also means that there was a change that was made here directly and it was pushed up. Now, you usually do not want to make individual changes on the FortiGates because it's really this side on the policies and package and the objects database up here that can really get a little tricky, and that's because these are going to be universal, and that's going to be for another example. But in this example, I'm going to show you how the FortiManager essentially is a provisioning buffer for changes that you make on your FortiGates. So let's do something. Let's actually see it in action. So for example here, this is our blank FortiGate that we connected remotely. So if we take a look on our GNS3, okay, we shipped this remote FortiGate, and all we had configured on it was a WAN IP address. Now I know that's a private IP address, but we just make believe in our class, okay? With also our FortiManager access turned on that interface, and nothing else. It's a blank slate, okay? But we were able to reach out there and actually talk to this guy, all right, and pull in its config. So going back to our Windows machine here, okay, there's really nothing on this remote FortiGate. So let's go ahead and double click, and you'll see all of the information here, just like if we were looking at the dashboard. All right, and that host name is what comes out of the box. So I'm going to hit the pencil, and I'm going to change this to remote FortiGates, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, it said successfully updated. Okay, and when I go back to my managed devices, we now get a modified. All right, and the reason why is because, let me load up that slide. That's because we have made a change at this level, but it has not been pushed down to the actual FortiGate. So you guys see how that's a buffer there? That's a buffer saying that, hey, you know what? We've made a change. That change has been reflected in this database right here, but it's yet to be pushed down to the actual device. Okay? Now, if you ever come across a modified and you're like, what was changed? I don't get it. You can always do this. All right? You double click, you go into your dashboard, and right here where it says configuration and installation status is where you can actually see that we have a modified side here. All right. So if we go to preview, you can see exactly what changes are pending between the FortiManager's device database and the actual FortiGate, which is changing the host name. Okay, so it gives you the CLI commands of what it's going to push down, and that's exactly what it does when it does the management side of things. And yeah, so what do we do now? Right? What do we do now? Well, we have to go and install those changes. So there's several ways to do this. I'm just going to I'm going to check this guy right here. I'm going to go to install wizard. All right. Now we've only made device setting changes. There's also a comment field here, and I actually suggest if you guys are working with multiple people and you do some kind of revision, you can write a comment in there on what you were doing, and that way it makes some kind of paper trail or some kind of documentation outside of, you know, just a configuration history. So I'm going to type in something like, you know, changed host name. And of course you don't have to do that, but I'm a huge fan of metadata. All right, and this is where the magic comes in. All right, we can say, okay, just this FortiGate. And what's nice about this is that it shows you the connection is up. Install preview. Now what install preview is going to do is it's going to drop those commands and see exactly what happens. All right. So we saw that when we hit our install preview on the dashboard, but what I mean is, like, you can actually get a little example of what's happening. You can download it for historical reasons. You can maybe use this for scripting later. It's pretty neat. But nothing has happened until we actually hit this install. Now once we hit the install, you're going to see it push down those changes, and you can see it in real time by hitting this monitor, what stage it's at. Okay. And also the revision history of the actual CLI output, which is kind of cool. All right. So while that is running, and hopefully that is successful. So, all right. So initiating request to install, copying device is done. So it looks like it's just running the hashes. Sometimes this GUI right here gets stuck, guys. So I'm in a virtual environment running on a janky old laptop. So in real life, this would probably go a little bit quicker. But there you go. We got an OK status, and everything was good. So we hit finish. All right. And now we're back to the synchronized states. And simply what that means, okay, is our host name, so let's double click, is remote FortiGate. All right. And if we go to GNS3 now and log into that FortiGate admin, ta-da, the host name has now been changed. So basically it pushed down those settings from our provisioning device manager database here and pushed it down to the device. And now that they are identical, we are now in a synchronized state. So let's go back. If that's not cool, guys, I don't know what is. So that's what it means to be synchronized. So now our device name itself, this is what we're calling it on the FortiManager. This is what it says as its host name. And if you think about it, you can have several local FortiGates depending on what is local relative to whoever's managing it. This is what it means to us as a FortiManager. So they just need to be different serial numbers, and that's how it distinguishes between the two. Now, I've actually never renamed a device before, but when I was importing this bad boy in, I didn't call it remote FortiGate. But I'm going to rename it now just so it makes more sense going forward. All right. Then we'll hit OK. There we go. That looks a little bit better. So once again, guys, this was just a quick example of how the device management database works, right? So once again, there's a database, and that database reflects what really is configured on the FortiGate. And each FortiGate has its own database of individual configuration settings. And then depending on which way that we push and pull our directions, okay, it's going to be a synchronize or an auto update. And that auto update, by the way, is because I went onto the local FortiGate and made a change, and it pushed up that change for me. So let's actually take a moment and see what change that was. How do we even find that out? Okay, let's do it. I'm rolling with these videos, by the way, guys, so I don't expect you guys to like them. Anyways, one day maybe I'll get a scripting team. But we do have two revisions, and we're like, what? So if we come over here, we can actually take a look at that database. Okay, something was auto updated here. Well, what was it? Well, you can view the whole configuration, but if you highlight, oh, actually, you know what? No, it's revision difference, all right, from the previous version. Show me only the differences. Apply. Oh, you know what it was? When I was configuring my local policy, right, to just get basic internet access, I was going too quickly when I was writing my firewall policy, and I didn't realize that I had the destination interface as one of my policies as port 3. So I changed it to port 1, and that's my 3-year-old, if you guys heard that. Anyways, so yeah. So anyways, guys, that's the change that I made, and that was the revision. Okay, and it did not affect my policy database because I haven't installed the policies yet, and that's going to be the next video. So but that's how you can go ahead and see the difference between the revisions. All right, and when I made that change locally on the FortiGate, that is why we had an auto update. And you know what, I'll actually just demo real quickly what it looks like when you go into a FortiGate that's being managed from the perspective of the FortiManager. It says, hey guys, this is being managed. Do you really want to do read-write? It might get out of sync. You can log in as read-only if you want to take a look at things. So it doesn't hurt anything to log in as read-only. So anyways, guys, that is it. I better go before my 2-year-old starts acting as an explicit deny here. So but in the next video, I'm going to show you how to import in the policies and objects from the different FortiGates, and then after that, we're going to do dynamic mapping of objects. So I hope someone finds these helpful, right, Emery James?
Yeah.
My 2-year-old's climbing on me. 3-year-old, sorry. And I'll see you guys on the next video. So, all right, thanks.